What I want is honesty in public life, accountability, proper access to information, and none of those things apply at the moment to the royal family. So I'm certainly happy for the opportunity to make those points, but it's the accountability and the transparency that I'm pursuing predominantly. We haven't had that.
Now, prior to the news of the arrest in Norfolk, Keir Starmer said that, quote, nobody is above the law. He'd been asked whether Andrew should volunteer himself to the police in the UK and in America. So let's think now more about the political implications of what has happened. And let's talk to Norman Baker. He's a former Liberal Democrat Home Office Minister and author of What Do You Do? What the Royal Family Don't Want You to Know. Norman Baker, I think it's fair to say you have been a very loud and long-time critic of the royal family. I just wonder what you think the political implications of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's arrest might be.
I think it's been quite interesting to see the police finally taking action against a member of the royal family. There have been a number of allegations relating mostly to Andrew, but also to other aspects of the royal family over some years.
We actually just heard it from Dickie Arbiter, is that the royal family, and let's be specific, the king himself, are handling in this in the way that they should. They are saying the law must take its course. They're agreeing with the proposition that nobody is above the law, and the king is saying that he and his family will offer full, wholehearted support and cooperation to the police. What more could or should they do?
Well, I think the statement made by King Charles today is exactly right, and I'm very pleased to see he's made that. But the reality is that for the last 15 years, the royal family's been behind public opinion when it relates to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, and they have their own questions to answer, namely what they knew when.
So would it be fair to say that for you, and I hope you would agree that it's fair to call you an out-and-out Republican, you'd like to do away with the monarchy. Do people like you see this as an opportunity then?
Well, I mean, I've said that logically there ought to be a republic, but I've also said that I would be prepared to live with a modernised, accountable monarchy, which is much more what we have in Europe. So I don't really want to get down that avenue of whether we have a republic or a monarchy. What I want is honesty in public life, accountability, proper access to information, and none of those things apply at the moment to the royal family. So I'm certainly happy for the opportunity to make those points, but it's the accountability and the transparency that I'm pursuing predominantly. We haven't had that. We've now got the House of Commons Public Accounts Committee looking into, for example, Crown Estate property, and that's very useful because that's well overdue. So I think what Andrew has done is we open the door for a whole range of questions that have been hanging around for a long time to be asked properly and have to be answered.
You think the public will have more of an appetite, do you now, for a discussion, for example, about the funding of the royal family, the size of the royal family, perhaps slimming it down, and, as you say, much more transparency and accountability about the finances of the family? You think all of that is on the table now?
Yes, I do. And if you look at the opinion polling that's taken place over some decades, the 86% support for the royal family in 1983, I think it was, is now down to 50%. So there's been a drip effect. And, my advice to Charles, and after all, I'm a Privy Councillor, technically advising Charles, is that he needs to modernise the family and modernise the royal family's arrangements before it's done for him by Parliament and by the public.
Well, you talk about Parliament. Before we let you go, you're a long-time parliamentarian. What role do you think Parliament should have in the short, medium and longer term?
Well, it's been made as difficult as possible for MPs to refer to royal matters on the floor of the House of Commons. And in my 18 years as an MP, I was the only MP able to introduce a debate on the royal family's finances. And you're discouraged from asking questions on these matters. That's got to change. I mean, they are part of the public sector, just as the NHS is, or the education system, or the civil service, and you should be accountable in the same way. We've now got, as I say, the House of Commons Public Accounts Committee looking into matters. We need to update what Parliament can do and to make sure they're able to hold the royal families to account as they would do with any other part of the public sector.
All right. Well, Norman Baker, former Home Office Minister, former Lib Dem MP, author of What Do You Do? What the Royal Family Don't Want You to Know. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on The Times at 1.